The costs of keeping athletes and fans safe in Sochi have skyrocketed. Some estimates now put the security bill at $3 billion. Cameras, security checkpoints, and an increased military presence are visible throughout the coastal city. But a Canadian-based project has uncovered some invisible surveillance measures. They come at a personal price to visitors. Nala Ayed looks at the real cost of securing Sochi.
Sochi's spectacle hasn't started, but the smiles and souvenirs are already on display. Soon the whole world will be watching. Look around, though, and someone here is already on a wary watch, and they don't plan on missing a thing. At Sochi's Central Command Center, they monitor a panopticon of smart cameras, thousands installed especially for the Olympics. And nothing escapes their gaze, not even a drifter snoozing on a bench. Russian officials insist under their watch this will be the safest Olympics ever. Deputy Director Edward Lutovinov says a terrorist attack in Sochi is a near impossibility.
This whole territory is being monitored, and we think we're very prepared security-wise. The threat is no bigger now than in any other city that ever hosted the Olympics.
Recent violence at least suggests otherwise. Sochi is neighbor to the North Caucasus, roiled by repression and an insurgency spreading unease again on Russian soil. Last summer, Chechen Muslim extremist Doku Umarov called for attacks to stop the, quote, satanic games. Several suicide bombings followed, 2 back-to-back last month in Volgograd, a day's travel from Sochi, but close enough to raise worldwide concern. When President Vladimir Putin sold Sochi to the Olympic Committee, he promised this.
We pledge to make the stay of Olympians and Paralympians, spectators, journalists, guests in Sochi a safe, enjoyable, and memorable experience.
But there is concern now that the security in Sochi will be the most intense, the most invasive the Olympic Games have ever seen. Sochi is sealed tight, a gauntlet of checkpoints under the vigilant watch of at least 70,000 police and soldiers, all traffic banned until a month after the Olympics end. A whole brigade of elite special forces who've long trained for the most dire of scenarios, now deployed in the mountains above Sochi. All that isn't really a surprise, but that's also not all. On top of the anti-ballistic missiles, the underwater machine guns, the sonar off the coast, Russia's Olympic arsenal will skirt a technological edge never before seen at the Games in the field of surveillance. Raising eyebrows are the drones that for the first time will monitor the Games from above, the robotic bomb detectors that will prowl the Olympic grounds below. Officials promise it'll all be invisible, but warranted.
Terrorism is a big threat for the whole world, and of course holding the Olympics in this country, there is a threat of terrorist acts.
But what is happening behind the facelift at Lubyanka, the old KGB headquarters in Moscow, in the name of preventing terrorism, is deepening the disquiet over the Games. Activists say the Federal Security Service, or the FSB, in charge of Olympic security, is going for surveillance gold, emboldened by a Russian president who himself is an ex-KGB agent. For insight, we looked to journalist Andrei Soldatov, an expert on Russia's security services.
I think it might reflect the KGB mentality, because the KGB mentality was mostly about how to have everything under control. It was mostly about how to deal with hostile foreign forces. And I think this kind of mentality is still alive.
With the support of University of Toronto's Citizen Lab, Soldatov and colleague Irina Borogan uncovered a secret FSB plan to soup up Russia's existing surveillance system called SORM, specifically in Sochi. They discovered a major Russian company promising ultra-fast free Wi-Fi in Sochi is also installing DPI, or deep packet inspection technology, allowing authorities a detailed look at communications. In short, Soldatov says every phone call, every email, every social media message in Sochi will be transparent, traceable by the FSB.
The FSB is completely impenetrable. There is no parliamentary oversight, there is no party control, and there is no control from other security bodies or other security services.
The scrutiny may be a shock to judges and athletes, the spectators who must also be vetted by the FSB. But such treatment is no surprise to government officials. The U.S. State Department recently warned visitors should have no expectation of privacy, that all means of communication should be assumed to be monitored. Canadian officials, including the Prime Minister's office, temporarily changed their cell phone numbers and email addresses while visiting Russia for last year's G20 meeting.
To think about this.
Soldatov says with tens of thousands of foreigners on Russian soil this time, expect the scrutiny to be even closer.
When you connect some of these services, that might be the moment when your passwords might be intercepted.
So this little thing could be a little spying device.
Yeah, it's yeah.
The Prime Minister also publicly decreed data on Sochi's visitors could be stored for 3 years.
And the FSB would be in possession of his data. It's a great opportunity.
It's a treasure trove.
Yeah, I think so.
It is spying, plain and simple, critics say, based mostly on fears of a foreign threat. Despite repeated requests for an interview, the FSB declined. Local activists believe the FSB's extraordinary measures are also aimed at staunching local protests and criticism, that those watchful eyes have long been trained on them. Vladimir Kemaev has logged the environmental impact of the coming games since they were announced. One of the most egregious violations, he says, illegal dump sites like this one, where the mounting construction waste occasionally slides into the village below. He says his house has been raided twice, that observant officials somehow always know about local plans for protest.
Here's the phone. You can hear an echo. They're listening in. I can hear when they start recording. They are absolutely eavesdropping on me.
He goes further, alleging someone might have tampered with his brakes.
They want me to feel fear so that I won't say anything critical. So all these stories of landslides and garbage dumps and people in villages suffering, they don't like hearing it.
They might try to intimidate you. They might try to intimidate your sources.
Soldatov, who says he too has been interrogated due to his writing, believes the aim is to avoid anything that might embarrass Putin or his personal project as the world watches.
Because it's so important subject for Vladimir Putin personally, he just decided that his favorable security service, the FSB, should be given all powers they need to secure the Olympics and to make it perfect.
Visitors looking to take something of Sochi home might unwittingly also be leaving something behind. Those watchful eyes will have a lot to take in long after the spectacle is over. Nala Ayed, CBC News, Moscow.